Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your monthly zodiac reading for the month of December 2025. This card pull is going to be your overall energy theme for the month. I apologize for that little bit of distortion. I left my Bluetooth in, and sometimes between that and my microphone, they tend to fight for sound, but this is your overall energy theme for the month. So this is the energy that is going to encompass the entire month. So if you don't remember anything from this reading, please remember the energy focus. Have faith. Have faith. You guys are the sign of like expansion, philosophy, spiritual, moral belief systems, religious belief systems. You guys kind of like your sign kind of encompasses the cultural expansion through different faiths as such. So it could be that you guys are really being called to tap into your faith this month. Let's see what the tarot has to say. I'm actually going to see if can I adjust this a little bit. There we go. So here in this first week, the Queen of Cups, very, very nice. So the Queen of Cups, she's a very healing energy. She is a very emotionally intuitive energy. Like she's a very empathic, she's very empathetic. And when she's direct, she has this really beautiful ability to kind of be that healing space for others, to be that intuitive psychic space for others, for herself, without taking on the emotions of others. Typically that's the mistake that a lot people who are highly intuitive or who are a little bit empathic have the tendency, that's the mistake they have tendency to make, is that they hold that space and then they also hold those emotions, right? We have to be able to separate. We have to be able to maintain kind of this sense of sovereignty, right? You are this pillar, you are this still rock sitting immersed within that water, within that healing space. So this could be a sign to really tap into those intuitive powers, tap into those very empathetic powers, and really just maybe allow yourself to maybe sit with that stillness, sit with your own emotions, whether that is with you or with other people. This is the week that we will experience a full moon within the sign of Gemini. Gemini for you guys sits in your 7th house. This is your house of business contracts, interpersonal relationships, long-term commitments, and marriage contracts, right? Long-term romantic commitments. So this full moon is going to be illuminating any challenges that you may be feeling, or it's going to be highlighting and amplifying emotions that you may be feeling. And you're really encouraged, again, to really tap into that faith. These two cards here, they go hand in hand, right? She's like, I trust the divine. I surrender. Look at her. She's got her palms up. She goes, I surrender to the unknown because her emotions are regulated, right? Her emotions are regulated. Like I said, she is that stillness within this body of water here. She is the stillness amongst all of the chaos, amongst all of the emotions. She has the ability to be that space, but not take on the space. Here in the second week, Judgment in reverse. So there could be a fear to let go. There could be a desire for control because there's a fear of the unknown. It could be that maybe you are feeling judged by others, feeling a little bit judged by others, or maybe you're afraid that you will be judged by others if you make a specific judgment call, so to speak, right? Judgment can represent that there is a choice that needs to be made. And here in when the card is direct, you are surrendering to the unknown. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to make the choice that I know is right for me, the choice that is most empowering for me. And I surrender to the unknown because here is the higher self. You are listening to that higher self, and you are surrendering to the unknown, and you are following wherever this path leads you. However, when this card is in reverse, like it came out, there's this fear about making that judgment call. Maybe you're afraid that other people are going to judge you. Maybe you are afraid to listen to your higher self. Maybe you're like, you're questioning whether or not you can trust that intuitive nudge. And here again is why you're being called to have faith this month. On the 10th, this is when Neptune, the planet of illusion, delusion, fantasy, and even unconditional love, goes direct within the sign of Pisces at the 29th degree. The 29th degree is an anaretic degree. It represents finality. It represents endings and conclusions. And Pisces for you guys is sitting in your 4th house. So this is your house of the home. This is your house of the mother or the parents. This is about emotional safety. And this is also about emotional attachment even. So it could be that maybe you're afraid to make a specific decision. Maybe you're afraid to make the decision because you're not sure how your family is going to see you. Maybe you're afraid that they're going to judge you, or maybe you're just afraid to make the decision because you are really struggling with your own sense of faith within this moment. This can also, so when it comes to, because here your 7th house of like romance and the 4th house of the home is being activated. It could mean that if you have reconciled with a partner, if you are trying to work things out with a long-term romantic partner, somebody who lives in the home with you, it could be that you realize like we're not going to be able to fix this situation. We're not going to be able to reconcile this. There is no fixing it, right? That is a potential for some of you out there. Again, this is a collective reading, so take it as it resonates. On the 11th, Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication, is moving into your 1st house. So you could have a greater sense of clarity. You could have a greater, maybe feel a little bit more inclined to talk about yourself or to even learn about yourself, right? Here in the 3rd week, the 8 of Wands. So your own energy comes out the week that you've got the new moon in Sagittarius. I absolutely love that synchronicity. First, on the 15th, Mars, the planet of action, aggression, war, violence, and initiative, is moving into the sign of Capricorn where it is exalted. So you guys, and I like that Mars is here with the 8 of Wands, like making those quick decisions where you're listening to like either what you're inspired by or what you feel intuitively guided to make decisions on. This is in regards to your personal finances. This is material possessions, financial investments, personal finances, self-worth, and even value. So Mars moving into this 2nd house, you could feel a little bit more, maybe have a little bit more courage to make those decisions based upon, again, what you're inspired by and kind of those intuitive nudges. Like, you know what? This feels right. I'm going to go after this. This feels right. This is the right choice to make. That feels right. This is the right move to make here. And like you're kind of making those decisions based upon that gut instinct, basically. On the 20th is when we experience the new moon within the sign of Sagittarius. So new moons are a new opportunity. They're a blank slate. And Sagittarius is your 1st house. So this is about you, setting these new intentions around you. And it could be setting those intentions, how to trust your own intuition. How can you have more faith within yourself so that you can make those quick decisions, and not just make quick decisions, but make decisions that you instinctively know and intuitively know are the right choice to make. You know what I mean? Kind of following that like hell yes moment versus being like, maybe. Like, no, you're like, no, these are my 2 options. This is the right way to go. These are my 2 options. This is the right way to go. These are my 2 options. None of them are right. I'm going to stay right where I am. You know what I mean? Really listening to that gut instinct, really listening to that intuitive and inspirational nudge and making your decisions, having the courage to make those decisions based upon that. Here in the last week, the 10 of Swords in reverse. So the 10 of Swords in reverse can really represent a finality to something. This is either like a sense of conclusion. This is a finality. This is closure even, right? You're not going to continue to ruminate over something. You're not going to continue to allow something to continue any further. Like whatever is done for you. You're like, I'm so overthinking about this. I'm so over worrying about it. I'm freaking done. So this is the 10 of Swords. It can represent sometimes, and we'll see what other cards come out, but it can represent sometimes like really hanging on, really clinging to either the anxiety, clinging on to belief systems, ideas, really clinging on to betrayal and pain, and kind of like just clinging on to your own suffering, so to speak, right? But again, we'll see what happens when we see the rest of the cards. This is the week that on the 21st, we shift into Capricorn season. And it is also when we get to celebrate the winter solstice, or even for those who celebrate Yule, this is your holiday celebration around Yule, which I absolutely love. We've already experienced fall. Fall is kind of the season of where things are slowly dying. The leaves are falling, they're landing on the ground, and they're slowly starting to go through that decomposition phase, right? Everything is starting to kind of decay. Well, now we are shifting into the next phase of that cycle where the cycle of death has already occurred. Now is the cycle where you begin to rest and rejuvenate, right? This is when bears and, forest life, they tend to hibernate. They go into their caves, into their dwellings, and they hibernate for the winter. So this is the season really of rest and rejuvenation. This is about recalibrating and kind of coming back to who you are before we approach the season of spring, where things begin to bloom and blossom again. On the 24th, Venus, the planet of love, money, beauty, and value, is moving into the sign of Capricorn. So again, your second house is kind of getting this uptick, which is wonderful, right? It could mean that maybe your sense of value and how you value the things within your tangible world really get that uptick, especially with Mars still being there. You could be more emboldened to go after the things that you value the most, whether that is material possessions, whether that is material financial security and stability, financial freedom, whatever that looks like for you. You're feeling much more confident and emboldened. And that could be what the 10 of Swords is here. Like, I am done worrying over this crap. The Page of Swords here in this first week, that kind of flipped out. So we're going to keep it. My intuitive nudge was to keep that card. So here in the first week, the Queen of Cups, the Page of Swords, and the Three of Swords. So at this point, it could be that you're really kind of holding space for your own disappointment. You're holding space for your own sense of like grief and heartache. Maybe you've received a message of clarity or even communication. Some of you could be, again, this is the full moon in Gemini. Some of you could be receiving communication of a separation. For some of you, I get it's not your separation. It could be, but it's not yours. It could be that maybe you hear about someone else separating and you're like, oh, that's really disappointing. Maybe you hold space for the friend or the person in your life that is going through this heartache and separation, right? Maybe this is you being that healing space, that intuitive space for this person. And again, this Page of Swords, it does kind of feel like this sense of clarity. And again, swords represents the mind. This is thoughts, ideas, communication, and messages. And sometimes when it comes to whether it is a romantic separation, whether it is a separation or loss of a job, whatever it is, the hardest part to let go of, it's almost like the most painful part to let go of, is this idea of what if, of what it should have been, this idea of what if. Okay? And that could be what you're like, you know what? I'm really having to separate from this idea of what maybe my long-term commitment, again, because this is hitting your 7th house. So this could be long-term commitments. This could be business contracts, marriage contracts. Yes, this can impact you, your marriage, or even someone else's marriage personally. But again, this is also long-term commitment. Okay. So this could be that just you're really holding space for how disappointing and heartbreaking it is to separate from the idea of what if. Okay? Separate from the idea of what if. What if it could have worked out, or what it should have been? Like, it's this idea that you've built, it's this belief that you've built, it's this maybe even this faith that you've built around, again, this particular person, this particular creative endeavor, a job, a relationship, whatever the focus is in your life. Having to let go of an aspect of that, or having to accept something for what it is really can be a really heartbreaking thing to do. Right? So maybe it's that the Queen of Cups is you really sitting in that space and really understanding and allowing yourself to feel how you feel without becoming. Like, you can be sad, but don't become your sadness. Don't take that on as like a failure. You can feel your disappointment, but don't turn that into a part of your identity where you become, I am the disappointment. Don't do that. Don't allow your emotions to become part of your identity, because that's not what they're there for, and that's not what the Queen of Cups is there for. If you do receive a message from a friend, from a loved one, that they and another person, their spouse, are separating, just be that healing space. But again, don't take on those emotions and don't try to fix it. You can't save this person from their own heartache. You can't do that. That's not your job. But you can be like that healing space. Okay? I went on a little bit longer with that one than I intended to. Here in the second week, Judgment in reverse. The Page of Wands. This is a message of like favorable news. This can also be like this message of like creative or intuitive, like a message of like creativity, or a message of inspiration that you want to follow, you kind of want to chase. Because the Page of Wands is very enthusiastic. They're very young, so they're very optimistic. It's almost like they're Sagittarius energy. They're very young, they're very optimistic, they're very enthusiastic, and they just want to explore every little nudge that they get. So you could receive a message of good news, and the Four of Coins, but you're still holding on to something. It feels like you're still holding on to fear, and it could be you're still holding on to this fear of judgment from others. This fear of judgment from others. Okay? And so if that is what is happening, follow this intuitive nudge. Don't hold on to this fear. Don't hold on to what was. Allow yourself to follow this creative message. Allow yourself to follow this sense of like creativity or inspiration that's coming with this Page of Wands. And even if you do receive a message about a new opportunity or something of that nature, something that's very favorable for you, like if you're sitting there like, I've been wanting to do X, Y, or Z, and you receive an opportunity, like you get a message, whether that's an email, a person, you're like, hey, we want to invite you to come do this thing. And you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But all of a sudden you feel very hesitant. What if people judge me? Don't listen to that. If you feel pumped up about it, do it. Here in the third week, the Eight of Wands, the Knight of Wands, beautiful. This again is your energy. And the Ace of Coins in reverse. So there's a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of like clarity and kind of like that gut instinct that's happening here in this week of the new moon in your sign. Like, you're really wanting to make these changes. You are feeling very inspired. You're feeling very like driven and like action oriented. You are really wanting to make these changes. And maybe you do. Even if you do, here's the Ace of Coins in reverse. Just recognize that maybe you won't see a financial turnover. Like, if this is a creative endeavor, if you're finally gathering up the courage to chase after this creative endeavor, without the fear of judgment, you're finally listening to your own intuition and following that gut instinct. Just recognize that the financial turnover, or the financial return on that investment, could take about 30 days. Like, it's going to need time to ramp up. This can also represent, I think, there's a new beginning here of either financial security, or even just stability and security within yourself. But it's going to take some time to develop. And you don't want to block that by not having any faith, by not having any faith in you. So whatever is inspiring you here in this third week, whatever intuitive nudges you are getting, follow them all. Go with that flow of energy, because this Eight of Wands and this Knight of Wands here is really fast movement. But it's also inspired movement. It's intuitive movement. Like I said, it's that gut instinct. Go with it. Go with it, go with it, go with it. Here in the last week, the Ten of Swords in reverse, Justice in reverse, and Temperance in reverse. Okay, interesting. I somehow get the feeling that this and this are tied together. So Temperance and Justice both represent balance. They both represent balance. Justice kind of represents that there is a need to take accountability for your own actions, right? So if you're feeling this kind of mental strife, you need to recognize that you're participating in that, right? Like, it's not just, oh, all of these things are happening to me. Like, you're participating in that mindset of all of these things are happening to me, versus trying to shift and reframe that mindset of these things are happening for me. Maybe this is just not the right time. Maybe this is not the right person. So instead of trying to shift that mindset, you're kind of allowing yourself to sit in this mental anguish, right? And again, like I said, the Ten of Swords can represent like this mental anguish. You're just allowing yourself to be buried by it. You're essentially just like stabbing yourself in the back by repeatedly saying these things, by repeatedly thinking these lower vibrational negative thoughts. So Justice can represent that that you really need to be able to take accountability for the part you play in your own mental anguish. And Temperance in reverse is like there's a need to restore this balance. And maybe by taking accountability for the part you play in your own pain and suffering, so to speak, for lack of a better term, you can restore balance. When you start to take that accountability and you're like, you know what? I am part of this. I make these choices. And if I can shift these choices to better choices, to more aligned choices, I can restore balance here with the Temperance card. I can restore this balance, right? So for some of you, you're part of the reason that you feel like you're suffering. Okay. And there's a need here in this last week with Capricorn season beginning to really take a step back and to recognize where you are your own worst enemy. And in order for you to restore balance, you're going to have to reframe, I think, your mindsets, how you speak to yourself, how you speak your world into existence, and how you choose to think about certain things. Here, For some of you, again, like I said, I feel like some of this is being tied to this first week. You might just need to be more patient with someone in your life, maybe someone who is going through this separation. Because again, the 10 of Swords, like something is done. This is a finality. And justice can represent that a choice has been made, and the feeling of that choice feels very unfair, right? It feels very, very unfair to someone. It's either going to feel unfair to you, it could feel unfair to them, it could feel unfair to their partner, like whoever it feels unfair to, it feels like the choice was not an equal choice and that the scales are not balanced. Okay, and Temperance is here saying like there's a need to be more patient if that's the case. There's a need for patience when it comes to this person, when it comes to this situation. If it feels unfair, just be more patient. Have faith. Have that faith. And there's a lot of energy here in this. And I know it's like such a Debbie Downer from this third week to like here. It's like wonk, wonk. But look, we all have these highs and we all have these lows. And maybe that's why you need to tap more into that faith space, because your month is it's got those highs and lows. So you might need to really tap into that faith and just be like, you know what? I'm just going to trust. I'm going to have faith in me. Kind of like, what is it that Snoop Dogg saying? Like, I want to thank me. I want to thank my hard work. I want to thank me. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in the divine and have faith in yourself. Know your worth. Again, if you have to if you are like feeling heartbroken, you're feeling very disappointed about something, maybe something you're having to walk away from, just know that like you're worth so much more. When it comes to a spouse, if that person is lying to you, if they are hiding a truth, if they're whatever the case may be, if you feel like you're not getting your fair shake, if you feel like you're not getting that return on investment, so to speak, know you're worth everything that you put in and more. But here, you might have to make a decision. You might have to convey to someone how they've hurt you. You might have to separate yourself from the idea of what could have been with, again, a person, an experience, a thing, a business, a job. You have to separate yourself from that. But you have to separate yourself knowing that you are worth this peace. You are worth that healing. Like you're worth so much more than this heartache that you feel. You don't deserve this heartache. All right? You are worth more than that. And that's why the Queen is there. She's reminding you to sit in those emotions, but don't become them. Believe in your own good luck. Again, follow this. So with Judgment in reverse, with the Four of Coins, like I said, you're really holding on to what it feels like fear. This fear of the unknown. But here you've got the Page of Wands, which is delivering a message of favorable news. And here we have the Oracle cards is like, believe in your own good luck. This is news. This is brilliant news. You're the only person that's holding you back from whatever this is. Whatever bright future this page has now delivered. Believe in your own good luck. You can do this. And again, I promise, if you are following that intuition, if you are following that gut instinct, it is not going to steer you wrong. Keep your heart open. Absolutely. Do not block your own blessings here this week. Have that faith and don't block your own blessings. Keep your heart open. Keep your heart open to this change that's occurring. Here in the last week, release control. Yeah, here, like you've got to let go of your own mental anguish. If you want to restore this sense of balance to your life, you have got to take accountability for your actions, and you've got to let go of this mental anguish. Have faith in yourself and have faith in the divine that everything is going to work out exactly as it is meant to. So I truly hope this helped. I hope you guys have an incredible month, and we will see you in 2026.